What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news this Monday afternoon. Taiwan's currency has seen some of its largest gains in decades. It comes as the government here negotiates with U.S. President Donald Trump to avoid new tariffs. Chris Gorin reports on why this rise could spell trouble for the country's exporters.
The new Taiwanese dollar, or NTD, is surging, with the value of $1 US dropping below 30 NTD. It's part of the ripple effect of U.S. tariffs being felt across the globe. The currency saw large jumps of 3% and 4% against the dollar on Friday and Monday, its biggest gains since 1988, according to Bloomberg. But a stronger NTD also means Taiwan's products are more expensive for global customers. That could be a blow to Taiwan's export-oriented economy, where even modest changes to the exchange rate can cause pain.
最近要出货的可能都是3个月至4个月之前的下的订单，那时候的汇率大概都32点多，所以它影响很大。你说你就看至少超过10个百分点吧。
The exchange rate can also have a strong effect on the service sector.
保险业是最紧张的，突破30那是一个很大的伤害哦，一下来可能是几百亿哦。我们当然希望稳定的这个台币当然是好了。
Taiwanese officials are currently negotiating in Washington to prevent U.S. President Donald Trump's now paused 32% tariffs, a deal that could include currency-related commitments. Taiwan has previously met 2 out of the 3 criteria for being labeled a currency manipulator by the U.S. Treasury, which is due to release a new report on the topic soon. The sudden changes to the currency saw Taiwan's central bank step in to stabilize the market.
央行已经出手了，只不过就是问题在它能够挡多少，对不对？把台币稳下来，那进来的外币会更多。所以央行要适度的让台币也跟着大家去升。
All eyes are now on the U.S. Federal Reserve and whether it will reduce interest rates. A cut could cause the dollar to weaken even further. Until then, many Taiwanese businesses will be on alert. Delphine Chen and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Campaigning for Taiwan to have a voice in global health discussions. It comes just weeks before the annual meeting of the WHO's governing body, which Taiwan has not been invited to. Reese Ayers reports.
Health has no borders. That's the message from Taiwan as it ups its campaign for entry into international health organizations. From op-eds in newspapers in the UK and Sweden to civil group gatherings in the Philippines and Australia, ahead of this year's World Health Assembly later this month, Taiwan wants the world to know that its exclusion is harmful to global health. Taiwan has historically been excluded from the WHA, the decision-making body of the World Health Organization, due to pressure from China, which claims Taiwan as its own. Taiwan was granted observer status under the name Chinese Taipei from 2009 to 2016, when the more China-friendly Kuomintang held the presidency, but hasn't been invited since. Despite not receiving an invitation to join again this year, Taiwan has announced plans to send an action team anyway. Though they won't be able to attend any official meetings, they will continue to garner support from the sidelines.
除了传统的这些诉求以外，也用比较活泼的方式，去这个呈现台湾的民意，特别台湾人的心声。所以我们希望透过这一次的WHA 的大会，有更多的人能够来为台湾发声，也能够争取在大会中让我们的主张能够呈现出来。
With its 30-year-old national health system often ranked among the best in the world, and as a leader in AI technology, Taiwan says it has a lot to contribute to the future of global healthcare. Health Minister Cho Tae-yuen is urging the United Nations to stick to its vision of leaving no one behind, arguing that health is a fundamental human right and should not be politicized. But as with anything related to Taiwan's place in the international community, the subject is inevitably political. And with civic groups planning to mobilize people from over 50 countries to help Taiwan's case, including an event outside the UN office in Geneva the day before the assembly begins, Taiwan's push for better health for all is also a chance to campaign for its position on the global stage. Devon Tai and Reese Ayers for TaiwanPlus.
Over 5,000 pharmacists and pharmacy students took to the streets of Taipei to protest a new government directive allowing some pharmacy graduates to sell traditional Chinese medicine without passing the national pharmacist exam.
往后诊所的医生第二代也休息35个结婚就可以当医生。我想这种逻辑已经把专业践踏。
Protesters called the directive illegal and a threat to public safety. The health ministry argues that the change addresses worker shortages and supports the traditional Chinese medicine industry. Pharmacists are threatening to protest outside the ministry every week until they get a satisfactory response. Police are struggling to hold back a wave of scams as fraudsters refine their techniques and shift tactics. Scammers made off with almost $257 million in April alone. John Van Trieste reports.
This woman in her 70s, face not shown for privacy, has just raised alarm bells at her local bank. She's trying to withdraw around $30,000 for what she says are stem cell injections. Someone's convinced her not only to take this money out, but to download an investment app where she can wire money to the supposed medical treatment company. The police are soon involved and find the woman is yet another senior citizen targeted by scammers.
对话内容除了老妇人所关心的医疗疗程外，还下载了明显为假交易的平台。内容声称投资金额越多，除可以短期制造大量获利外，会员等级也可以提升成 VIP 级别等话术。
Taiwan has seen a spike in scams in recent years. And while their success rate can vary wildly from one month to the next, scammers aren't slowing down this year. After a dip in January and February, their illicit earnings skyrocketed in March and April. Last month alone, victims lost around $257 million. Tackling scams is hard work as the scammers show innovation. Lately, smaller-scale online shopping scams are among the most common. And scammers know how to choose their targets. Many are senior citizens who may not see or believe red flags. It took family intervention to save one 65-year-old Taidong County man from losing $3,000 to scammers peddling a fake miracle cure for men online.
所幸其妹婿察觉有异，及时陪同王男至本所报案，远警积极介入下成功拦阻。
Despite occasional successes like this, scammers show few signs of backing down. In a typical month, police have around 10,000 new cases to deal with. And the evolution of new tricks means Taiwan's scam problem remains a tough one to crack. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The U.S.'s Pacific Army commander says China's aggressive behavior in the Indo-Pacific demands a fundamental shift in military strategy. General Ronald Clark told the Wall Street Journal that Beijing's rehearsals of a Taiwan blockade were once unthinkable, but are now routine. He says China holds key advantages, and U.S. forces could arrive too late in a crisis. He says the U.S. is now boosting its presence in the region and deploying more long-range missile systems. It's also stepping up joint military drills with other regional allies, like the Ballistic exercises with the Philippines. U.S. President Donald Trump has expanded his tariff program, adding a 100% levy on foreign movies. Trump says incentives offered by other countries are drawing U.S. filmmakers away from local studios. And as a result, the industry is, quote, dying a very fast death. It's the first time he has targeted a service sector rather than physical goods. And U.S. President Trump says he is willing to give TikTok more time to sell its U.S. operations, extending the deadline for a deal past June 19th. The ban on Chinese social media giant ByteDance's platform has already been delayed twice. Trump says he has a sweet spot for TikTok after it helped him win over young voters in 2024. The law initially required ByteDance to stop operating in the U.S. by January 19th unless it sold off its U.S. assets to American buyers. The latest potential deal was scrapped by China, citing Trump's steep tariffs. Warren Buffett has announced that he is retiring as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at the end of this year. Buffett made that announcement at Berkshire's annual meeting, ending a 60-year run as one of the world's most influential investors. Buffett named the company's vice chair Greg Abel as his successor and pledged to keep all of his shares. Russian President Vladimir Putin says his country has the strength and means to take the war in Ukraine to its logical conclusion. It comes ahead of a 3-day ceasefire with Ukraine declared by Moscow. But Putin's comments are raising questions about the possibility for a lasting peace. Rosie Greninger reports.
Destroyed buildings and burnt out cars. The aftermath of a Russian drone attack on civilians in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. At least 11 people, including 2 children, were injured in the strike involving 165 drones. Ukrainian military officials say they shot down 69 of them. It comes just days before a 3-day ceasefire announced by Moscow, coinciding with the country's World War II Victory Day celebrations. But the recent strike has left Ukrainian residents doubting any chance for peace.
Pretending that they are ready for talks is one thing, but nevertheless, they keep delivering strikes and the war continues. Boys are dying every day. The talks did not bring anything good so far. Look at the results of the talks. People are suffering, houses and cars sustain damage.
Their doubts echoed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has dismissed the upcoming 72-hour truce as unserious. The leader said Ukraine could not guarantee the safety of foreign dignitaries who came to Moscow for the country's Victory Day celebrations. Among them, Chinese President Xi Jinping, who is set to arrive in Russia on Wednesday. Zelensky is instead pushing for a 30-day truce, a proposal put forward by the US. Speaking in the Czech Republic, Zelensky urged Kyiv's allies to apply greater pressure on Moscow to put the measure in place.
Ми вважаємо, що припинення вогню можливе абсолютно будь-який момент, хоч від сьогодні, і має тривати щонайменше 30 днів, щоб дати реальний шанс дипломатії. І я вдячний Чехії за підтримку в цій пропозиції нашої позиції.
Russia has so far rejected the proposal. US President Donald Trump, who has been attempting to broker a deal between Ukraine and Russia in past months, has signaled frustration at the failure of both countries to reach terms to end the war. The Kremlin is calling Kyiv's refusal to accept the 3-day ceasefire a threat to the security of its World War II commemorations. Top security official Dmitry Medvedev warning, quote, nobody could guarantee Kyiv would survive to see May 10th if Moscow was attacked during the celebrations. While Russian President Vladimir Putin says he has the power to finish the war on Russia's terms without resorting to nuclear weapons.
Хотели добиться того, чтобы мы совершили ошибки. Ну и не было необходимости применять оружие, о котором вы сейчас сказали. И, надеюсь, и не потребуется. У нас достаточно сил, средств для того, чтобы довести начатое в 2022 году до логического завершения с нужным для России.
Another stark warning against any action from Ukraine as Russia prepares to mark its greatest military victory and for international leaders to step onto its home soil. Squat Huang and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Yemen-based Houthi militants have claimed responsibility for an attack on Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport. No deaths or injuries have been reported, but several flights were canceled or delayed following the attack on Sunday morning. Israeli and U.S. missile defense systems failed to intercept the weapon, which exploded in an open field near the airport in Tel Aviv. Tensions have been rising in the region, with the U.S. launching strikes against the Tehran-backed Houthis. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed Iran for the attack and vowed to respond. Iran says it has successfully test-launched a solid-fuel ballistic missile with a range of 1,200 kilometers. Iranian state TV says the new missile is capable of striking distant targets without the aid of GPS. Iranian Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh says if his country is attacked by the U.S. or Israel, it will strike back. The unveiling of the new missile comes after threats by the U.S. over Iran's nuclear weapons program. Washington and Tehran were supposed to hold talks on May 3rd to reduce tensions, but those have been delayed. And thank you for joining us for What's Up Taiwan. Visit our website to get more of our news reports or other programs. Before we go, check out a new fog sculpture installation by Japanese artist Fujiko Nakaya at Berlin's new National Gallery. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan, around the world, and Washington, D.C., please download the TaiwanPlus app and follow us on social media.